Okay, before I unmute Rabbi Kesselman. Anyway, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Farbrengen in honor of Yud Alef Nissan, which is really tomorrow night, but the technicalities, it's easier to do it tonight. So, Rabbi Kesselman doesn't need any introduction in our show. He's Farbrengen many times. He's been in our show many times. So let's get straight to the point. Good to everybody. It's a very special day. It's the Rebbe beginning the 120th year of his birth. And so without any further ado, here's Rabbi Kesselman. Rabbi, can you unmute yourself? Rabbi Kesselman. Rabbi Kesselman. Why isn't he answering? Rabbi Kesselman, unmute yourself. Unmute. Did you unmute? Rabbi Kesselman. You don't hear? A minute. Rabbi Kesselman, unmute yourself. You don't hear me?
Now we hear you.
Okay, and now you're unmuted also. Okay. So without any further ado, here is Rabbi Moshe Kesselman. Shlita.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol neh b'dvarai.
Amen. Time.
All right, l'chaim, everybody. This is a Farbrengen in honor of Yud Alef Nissan. So Hashem should bless us all, that we should celebrate the day of Yud Alef Nissan as we're supposed to. We should make the preparations as we're supposed to. Yud Alef Nissan, of course, is the Rebbe's birthday. This year, we're celebrating the beginning of the 120th year of the Rebbe. So, l'chaim, Hashem should bless us all, that the day of the Rebbe's birthday, when Mazal Goiver, when the Rebbe's Mazel is strong, and when the Rebbe's Neshama is strong, should bless all of us and should fill all of us with brachas and with all the things that we need. And we should take the day and apply it and learn from it and grow from it and become bigger and better Hasidim on this special day. Before I drink, I want to give a special Yasher Koyach and thank you to Rabbi Shusterman for this honor of saying a few words in honor of Yud Alef Nissan. And thank you very much, Rabbi Shusterman, and to all the Mispalim and the participants, the community of Chabad of Beverly Hills. L'chaim v'levrocha.
Hi.
It's important to, it's part of the Biur Chametz process is to drink the mashka before Pesach. Anyways, l'chaim. So I want to share with you something that I once saw on a video recording, actually, of a Farbrengen of the Rebbe, that the Rebbe said on Yud Alef Nissan. If I remember correctly, this was said Yud Alef Nissan Tafshin Mem Hey, which would have been the 11th day of Nissan in 1985. That particular Yud Alef Nissan Farbrengen was a special Farbrengen because it was actually the first time that the Rebbe was making for the Rambam campaign a hadron on the Rambam. So what had happened was that the Rambam, what became known as the Rambam campaign, the Rebbe's campaign to study Rambam every day, it was started by the Rebbe on the last day of Pesach in 1984. And when the Rebbe started the Rambam campaign, he said, we'll start the Rambam campaign now on the last day of Pesach, and we'll finish the Rambam on a Yom Zakai. We'll finish the Rambam on an auspicious day, which literally simply just meant that whichever day the Rambam will be finished will be an auspicious day because it's the Siyam Rambam. It turns out that the Siyam Rambam fell out on Yud Alef Nissan. So when the Rebbe Farbrengt, as part of the Farbrengen, of course, in honor of Yud Alef Nissan, in honor of his birthday, was a hadron that the Rebbe made on the Rambam. Also that part is also very famous. It's in those years, in the 80s, they had relatively pretty developed systems, for recording the Rebbe's Farbrengens. They were televised. At that time in 1985, I was already living with my family in Johannesburg in South Africa. We had just moved. And many of I don't remember, I was a little child in 1985. I don't remember the Farbrengen, but in those years, I was probably at that Farbrengen as a little child, listening through via hookup in Johannesburg, South Africa. Anyways, in that particular Farbrengen, you can look this up, you can watch it. There's a recording of it, a video recording of it. In the second sikh, in the second talk of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe spoke about himself, which of course is very rare because in general, the Rebbe never spoke about himself. And definitely not, blatantly, definitely not explicitly. But here, the second sikh of the Farbrengen, the whole sikh where the Rebbe talks about himself. And he sort of introduces it and sets it up in the following way. The Rebbe says that everybody knows that in Chassidus, of course, the root of all evil, what's seen as the root of all negativity, the root of all darkness, the cause of all sin, is the concept of gaiva. Gaiva means arrogance. Gaiva means self-centeredness. Gaiva means, a person who's so involved in themselves that they're trapped in themselves. They can't see anything past themselves. And the Rebbe said, Chassidus talks so much about what a terrible thing this business of gaiva, arrogance, ego, stuff like that. And the Rebbe says it's not only Chassidus, even in Sfarim that are not connected to Chassidus, you have this also. But definitely the way it's explained in Chassidus, gaiva, yeshus, the worst thing ever. And
freezing.
Everybody knows this, It's not
Rabbi Kesselman, you're freezing.
Some state secret of this scenario. People are gathered here to celebrate my birthday. He doesn't want to say those words. But the expression the Rebbe uses is everybody's here to celebrate the birthday of one individual. And it's not just 10 Jews, but it's Kamo Assyria Ismi Yisrael. It's many minyanim of Jews. Of course, it was, thousands of Jews, but the Rebbe speaks modestly, many minyanim of Jews. And everybody is here to celebrate this particular birthday of this particular individual. And he says, and it's not like it's a secret why everybody is gathered together. Everybody knows.
Rabbi Kesselman, you're freezing. Okay. What can I do?
Objecting. Nobody's saying, hey, everybody, why is paying so much attention to one individual? One individual, seems not right. It's the question that the Rebbe asked. A whole sikha. I don't remember how long the sikha is, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe more, addressing this issue of how it could be that so many people will gather together to celebrate the birthday of one individual. And if it's his birthday, then it's his issue. Let him go and celebrate his birthday privately. Why does this become an opportunity for so many people to gather together? And then, so to explain it, to answer it, the Rebbe told the following story, which I believe he told on more than one occasion, but he told it on this occasion as well. And here it is, and it speaks, the story speaks volumes and it speaks for itself. What's the story, says the Rebbe? At once upon a time, there was an individual who was appointed as a Rav in a shul, in a community, in a city, whatever it was, he was appointed as a Rav. And everybody came on the day when he was, when he rose to the throne, everybody came to welcome him and to honor him. They threw him a big party and a big Kabbalah upon him. But as is the custom among Yidden, it so happens that this Rav also had some detractors, some individuals who felt that he wasn't the right candidate, he wasn't prestigious enough, he wasn't learned enough, he wasn't worthy of this kind of a position. No, but the community, chose him, so he got the position. Now, in those days, you have to understand, in those days, there was no communication. There was no iPhones, there was no WhatsApp, there was no nothing. So most of the people, the first time they got to see this Rav was at this Kabbalah Sponim, was at this party that they made to greet him. And they take a look and they see that he is a klein, this is the Rebbe's Lashon, a kleinschike und a darichke. That means he's small and he's thin. He's 5'2" and he's 150 pounds soaking wet. The guy looks like, like this and like this. Tiny guy, tiny human being. He looks like the kind of guy you could snap him in half like a toothpick, like boom. And he's now like the new Rav of this big city, of this big community, of whatever it was. Says the Rebbe, somebody went over to him and said to him, you are going to be our new Rav. You're going to be our new leader. You're going to tell us what to do. You're going to be in charge over here. You, look at you. You're so small and you're so thin and you're so emaciated. How can anybody take you seriously? By the way, now I'm adding something in parentheses. By the way, the idea that a person in that kind of a position has to have the right seer, has to have the right look, is a Torah concept, right? We know this. There's reference to this even in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, where it says, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, "Arei ani kiven shivim shana." I'm like a 70-year-old man. Today in the United States of America, no 18-year-old kid wants to look like a 70-year-old man. Every 70-year-old is trying to make themselves look like they're 18. So why is he so proud of himself that he's like a 70-year-old man? So you all know the story. The Gemara says when he was offered the position to be the head of the yeshiva, he went home to his wife, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He went home to his wife. He was 18 years old. His wife told him, nobody's going to take you seriously because you have no white hair in your beard. Miraculously, overnight, 18 white strands developed in his beard. He woke up the next morning, he was an old man. He looked like an old man. He was very proud of himself. Today, everybody paints their beards black and their hair black. Who wants to paint it? But Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was very excited. He woke up with white hair in his beard. Now he looked the part. He went to the yeshiva and he took the position. All right, it didn't last long. We're going to get there soon if we have time. It didn't last long, but either way, he got the position. Let's go back to the Rebbe Sikha. So the Rebbe says this Rav's detractors come to him and they say to him, what are you doing? Go back to where you came from. You're too small and you're too thin. Of course, the detractors didn't just mean that he was too physically small and he was too physically thin. Those critics were trying to tell him that you are too small and too insignificant for this position. His physical smallness reflected was a cue for them to poke at his not being worthy of this kind of a position. So the Rebbe said that the Rav responded, and the Rav told him like this: Ich bin take a kleinschike und a darinschke. It's true, he said, I am small and emaciated. Aber the benkel is a größer. But the chair that I'm going to sit on is going to be very big. Again, it's a play on the words. On a simple level, he was saying, what are you worried about, that I'm going to be small? Don't worry, they'll put me in a high chair. And when I sit in the high chair, everybody will think I'm big. Don't worry. Nobody will see how small I am when I sit in a high chair. But of course, on a deeper level, what he meant was that even though I am small, the position, the benkel, the chair means the position. The position that I'm in is very big. The position that I'm in is going to elevate me. The position that I'm in will propel me to a place where I'm big enough and I'm strong enough and I'm large enough and I'll be able to do everything I need to do. What did he mean? What he meant was that it's not about me. If it's about me personally, then of course, I'm not significant enough. But if it's not about me personally, if it's about the benkel, the chair, what it is that we need to do, and Hashem will help us. We'll be successful in what we have to accomplish. This is the way the Rebbe worded the answer. That the Rav said, although I'm small and emaciated, the chair is big enough, and the chair is big, and the chair will carry me. Said the Rebbe, the same is true. Excuse me. Said the Rebbe, the same can be true. The same can be said about himself. The Benkel, the Rebbe said, the Benkel, the chair that he's sitting on, is the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Rebbe would speak about the Frierdiker Rebbe, about his father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, as the Rebbe, the Nasi Hador, the leader of the generation. The Benkel, the seat, the throne, is his, belongs to him. He is our Rebbe. Said the Rebbe, we are all his Hasidim, we are all his Talmidim, we're all his Shluchim, we're all his people. So the Rebbe said, since the Rebbe would refer to him as the Rebbe the Shver. Since the Rebbe the Shver, my father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, is in Olam Ha'emes, is in the world of truth, is in Gan Eden. So he needs physical hands and feet in this world. So we are his physical hands and feet in this world. And we do what it is that he would want us to do if he were here. And in that sense, we sit on his benkel, we sit in his chair, and it doesn't matter if the person who sits in the chair is big or small, doesn't matter, because the chair is big and the chair carries us all. And this was the Rebbe's answer. And that's why it's okay for thousands of people to come together and celebrate the Rebbe's birthday. What is the Rebbe saying? What's the Rebbe really saying? What he's really saying is that he doesn't see it about himself personally as an individual. He doesn't see himself b'chlal as an individual. He doesn't see himself as a person for himself. His entire existence and everything that is connected to it is first and foremost to be a shliach, to be not just a shliach, to be the hand and fist, to be the physical manifestation of his Rebbe, of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And second of all, to the benkel, the position is whatever it is that Hashem, that his shlichus in this world is to do. That's what it is that he'll do. And he'll do it, and he'll do it with everything he has, and he'll invest himself. And it's not about him as an individual. So when thousands of people come together to celebrate the birthday of a particular person, it's not a contradiction. Chassidus says you're not allowed to have yeshus and gaiva. It's nothing to do with yeshus and gaiva. Yeshus and gaiva is when a person sees everything is about me. Narcissism, right? Narcissism means it's about me. The opposite of narcissism, bittul, is that's not about me as an individual. I am not an individual, b'chlal. I'm not for myself. The benkel, the chair, means the place where we are, the position that we're in. This is represented by the chair. That's one answer. The other answer that the Rebbe gave is, the Rebbe said, and besides, we're not only here for my birthday, we're here for Siyum Rambam, which of course is almost comical for the Rebbe to say we're here for the Siyum Rambam. What do you mean? Siyum Rambam was on Yud Alef Nissan, was for the first time in 1985. They've been celebrating the Rebbe's birthday in Yud Alef Nissan for decades before that. But they said, what do you mean? It's not for me, it's for the Frierdiker Rebbe, it's not for Yud Alef Nissan, it's for the Siyum Rambam. So to speak, 1,001 excuses.
Rabbi Kesselman, you're freezing.
How he is manifesting his shlichus as being the physical hands and the physical feet of the Rebbe. Where would the Rebbe go? What would the Rebbe do? How would if the Rebbe were here physically, how would he want us to celebrate Yud Alef Nissan, his birthday? That's what a chassid does. A chassid asks himself, what would the Rebbe say in this position? What would the Rebbe do at a time like this? How would the Rebbe what would the Rebbe say is the shlichus that needs to be accomplished? And that's what it is that the chassid does. Comes a day like that's in general the whole year. Comes a day like Yud Alef Nissan, where we say, today is the Rebbe's birthday. That means that whatever was accomplished and whatever was achieved and whatever was done that was all until now. That was all until now. And now starts a whole new beginning. I have to tell you something. It's a little bit comical, but it stuck in my head. That I once heard years ago, to bring out this brings out this idea that the Rebbe saw all of these things as an opportunity for a new beginning. You know, of course, an Achron Shel Pesach every year. So Minhag Chabad is that we make Mashiach Suda. I'm going to turn my phone off. My apologies. Sorry. Minhag Chabad, my apologies. Minhag Chabad, and on the last day of Pesach, we make Mashiach Suda. And the Rebbe says, the Rebbe Rashab instituted that by Mashiach Suda, everybody should drink 4 cups of wine. All right. Yes. Well, of course, every year by Mashiach Suda, there would be a Farbrengen. The Rebbe would Farbrengen, of course, Mashiach Suda. After Yom Tov, the Rebbe would make Havdalah, then give out Koshel Bracha. What happens? You have, Achron Shel Pesach, Mashiach Suda, many people come to the Farbrengen. Everybody has to drink 4 cups of wine. Now in 770, it was these Farbrengens, they were very crowded. A lot of people trying to get into a small amount of space. And it's difficult. Where are you going to get 4 cups of wine, right? First of all, you have to get a cup, and then you have to hope that by the time you get the cup, it doesn't get, clapped up on the way, and it doesn't have any holes inside it. The story. I'm running from story to story, but I'll hold on to my head. The story of the guy who came to the Rebbe by Koshel Bracha with a cup. So as the Rebbe is about to pour wine for him, the Rebbe looks at him, and the Rebbe said, I gave you wine already. So he tells the Rebbe that the previous time he took Koshel Bracha, he had a hole in his cup. So the wine that the Rebbe poured him, gave in his cup, poured it.
You're freezing again. You're freezing up.
If there's a hole in that, if there's da loch in cup, that nicht helfen. It's not going to help that we give more wine. It's not going to help to pour a second time. It's going to pour out again. Anyways, back to the Mashiach Suda. So it was difficult. You have to get a cup, and the cup can't have a hole, and you have to fill it once, and you have to fill it twice, and 3 times, and 4 times. So one guy was a big chacham. You understand? He decided he's going to drink all 4 cups before the Rebbe's Farbrengen starts. Simple. So because the Rebbe would announce that everybody should make sure to wash, and if anybody didn't wash, they have to wash for matzah, and everybody should drink the 4 cups of wine. So he went before the Farbrengen and he washed, and he drank all 4 cups of wine before the Rebbe even walked into the room. So he felt great. Baruch Hashem. I washed. I had a moitzi, and I drank all 4. Now I can enjoy the Farbrengen without worrying. So anyways, the Rebbe comes into 770 and starts Farbrengen, drinks the first cup of wine, and Farbrengens more. It comes time to drink the second cup of wine. So the Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says, in Yiddish, he said, as als was mod getrunken bis jetzt, when it comes time to drink the second cup of wine, the Rebbe said, als was mod getrunken bis jetzt is shaykh zum ersten Kos. Everything that we drank until now belongs to the first cup. Now starts the second cup, but it's a strange way of saying it. You could just say, we drank the first cup, now it's time to drink the second cup. He didn't say that. He said, everything that was until now belonged to the first cup. Now it's time for the second cup. So he understood that as a remez, as a hint to mean that all 4 of the cups that he drank until now, because he drank them before the Farbrengen, all of that belongs to the first cup. Now it's time to start drinking the second cup. Understand? The Rebbe wanted very much that when a person gets to a crossroads in life, an opportunity, a birthday, definitely the Rebbe's birthday, that this should be seen as a new beginning. From here starts everything that was until now, was until now. Now starts Yud Alef Nissan, a whole new year, a whole new beginning. That means every chassid has to challenge himself, in a new way. What does it mean? How am I doing the work that the Rebbe wants of me to do? Am I fulfilling my shlichus? Am I going in the right direction? Everything that was until now belonged to the 119th year. Now starts the 120th year, a whole new beginning. And 120 represents a full life. That means everything that was until now was full, and that belonged to the past. Now starts a whole new year, a whole new beginning, a whole new parsha. But in the Chassid's case, like the Rebbe said, it's never seen as something individual. It never becomes about me. It always becomes about the shlichus and about what it is that the Rebbe wants us to do. And as long as we remember that we are on the Rebbe's shoulders, so to speak, as long as we remember that who we have behind us and where we're coming from, so then we go with all of the encouragement and with all of the brachas that the Rebbe gave every one of us. No fear. No fear. Yada Chasidim al hol yona. The Chassid he knows what he has to do. He goes, he does, the Rebbe's brachas accompany him, and he goes. Lately, there was a story that was going around. If you saw it it made its way around on WhatsApp. But it's worthwhile to repeat anyways because it's an amazing story. So this guy was saying that there was a couple of people who came to the oil of the Rebbe, and they had heard that the Chabadnik say you go to the oil, you ask the Rebbe for what you want, and the Rebbe finds a way to answer you. So in the oil, there is a guy who sits behind the desk like an information center. And they asked him, what does it mean if the Rebbe finds a way to answer you? What does it mean? So he tells them, I'll tell you. He says, a little while ago, a woman came to the oil, and she came to daven. She came to me, the young man sitting behind the desk says, she came to me, and she told me she needs a bracha, she needs money to send her child to yeshiva. She's short on tuition, and she needs a bracha to get that she should have money to send her child to yeshiva. So the young man said, I told her what to do, to sit down, write a letter, go to the oil, daven, etc. So she did. While she's in the oil, another guy comes over to me and says, I'm looking for a worthy place to give some tzedakah. I'm a man of means, and I'm looking for a worthy place to give tzedakah. Maybe you know of somebody who needs help. So the guy says, I told the guy, there's a woman inside the oil. She'll be out any minute. She just told me that she's going to ask the Rebbe for a bracha, that she should have money to pay for tuition for her children. And then within 2 minutes, the woman came out, and this guy says, I connected the two. I told the guy, you're looking for a place to put your money, right? It's usually not hard to find a place to put your money. You don't usually find people who are looking for places to put their money. And if you know anybody who's looking for a place of where to give their money, have them contact me afterwards. But other than that, usually, this guy was looking for a place where to give it. This woman, Punkt, needed it. And so this guy shows the people, you see those two people talking right over there? That man is going to help that woman. He says, look what happened. The Rebbe found a way to help the woman. The Rebbe found a way to help the man. And the Rebbe found a way to answer you. All in the same time. What's the point? The point is that a chassid knows that the Rebbe takes care of everything the Rebbe has to take care of. Comes Yir Alef Nissan, it's a day when the mazoloi goiver, when the Rebbe's neshama is strong. That means the neshama of every chassid is strong. The neshama of every chassid is connected. We can accomplish tremendous things on this day. So everybody, let's say l'chaim. We should draw inspiration. We should draw strength from the day, and
You froze again. Rabbi Kesselman, you froze again.
Still connected or we're off?
Yeah, but you just froze for a little bit.
Rabbi Schusterman will say a few words for the Farbrengen, and then we'll
No, Rabbi Kesselman is going to continue talking.
I
Talk. You do it. No?
L'chaim. I mentioned before that the Gemara says that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah at the age of 18 became Rosh Yeshiva. Everybody knows it's one of the most famous stories in the whole Gemara. Everybody knows it and everybody talks about it. Talk about it the Seder night. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah at the age of 18 became Rosh Yeshiva. His wife told him it's not going to last. Turns out she was right. Anyways, he became the Rosh Yeshiva at the age of 18. Everybody repeats the story. There's a part of the story that I don't know if people repeat, or I don't even know if people pay enough attention to this. There's an amazing part of the story. The Nasi, the Rosh Yeshiva before the Nasi before Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the Gemara says was Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel had a policy that he didn't allow into his yeshiva any student who was insincere. Any student who was insincere, she'ein toichei kabara, he wasn't on the inside like he was on the outside, Rabban Gamliel didn't let him in. He put a shomer HaPesach, he put a guard at the door to make sure that they didn't come in. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah started. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was appointed. On his first day in office, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah changed the policy. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, no. In my yeshiva, on my watch, anybody who wants can come in. They removed the shomer HaPesach, they opened the doors, and anybody who wanted could come in. The Gemara says, according to some opinions, they had to add 700 benches. Right? So if you make a calculation, if each bench holds 5 people, you're talking about 3,500 people who were waiting to come and learn. And could be it was even more because in those days they didn't have benches like we have today. You're talking about thousands and thousands of students who were waiting to come and sit and learn Torah. And on Rabban Gamliel's watch, they weren't allowed in. Came Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, day one in office, changed the policy. Removed the shomer HaPesach, opened the doors, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of students come in and sit and learn Torah. Says, listen to this. Says the Gemara, Rabban Gamliel was watching. Rabban Gamliel was still alive. The rabbis had him removed because of something that was going on, but he was still alive. Rabban Gamliel was watching the way thousands of students are coming into his yeshiva, that he was the Nasi over, that he didn't let them in. The first day of this young man, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, first day in office, the doors open and thousands of students come in. Rabban Gamliel watches what goes on. Rabban Gamliel says to himself, Chas v'sholom, look what's going on over here, he says. Because of me, all these people could have learned Torah and they didn't. He felt bad. So the Gemara says he had a dream. And in his dream, he saw that he was sent a message. And the message that he was sent was that he did the right thing. The message that he was sent was that he did the right thing. So he felt better. And then you know what the Gemara says? The Gemara says, although Rabban Gamliel was told in a dream that he did the right thing, and although he felt better, the truth is that the dream was just shown to him in order to make him feel better, but it wasn't really right. He did do the wrong thing. And he's criticized for it in the Gemara. Within a very short time, Rabban Gamliel's position is restored. The politics is fixed. Rabban Gamliel is restored to his original position. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah also keeps the position a little bit. They have an arrangement where Rabban Gamliel speaks 3 times a month, 3 times out of 4 weeks. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah speaks 1 time out of the 4 weeks. And that's basically where the story of the Gemara ends. But you know the Meforshim say, you know what the Gemara doesn't say? The Gemara doesn't say that they ever restored the shomer HaPesach. The Gemara doesn't say that they ever restored the guard. The Gemara doesn't say that they ever restored the policy of Rabbi Gamliel that if you're insincere, you can't come and learn Torah. It doesn't say that. Instead, it seems that in that sense, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the young new rabbi, prevailed, and anybody who wanted could come and learn Torah. Everybody who was welcome, everybody who was not welcome under Rabbi Gamliel remained in the yeshiva under the times of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Perhaps we can say that in many ways this is connected to the Rebbe's message that the Rebbe taught throughout the 40 plus years of his leadership. Once upon a time, people believed in order to study Torah, you have to do so at a particular time and a particular place. And in order to do mitzvahs, you have to do it in the right time and in the right place. And you have to be the right kind of a Jew and it has to be the right kind of environment, etc., etc. Along came the Rebbe and said, it's time to get rid of the Shomer HaPesach. It's time to get rid of the guard at the door. Torah is for everybody. Mitzvahs is for everybody. And if the Yid is not going to come to shul, and if he's not going to put on tefillin in shul, we're going to take to the streets, and we're going to find him in the streets, and we're going to put tefillin on him in the streets. And we're going to be makar of everybody. And we're going to go out and we're going to tell every single Yid the most important message, and that is that if you are a Yid, then you are welcome. And if you are a Ben Avram, Yitzchak, V'Yaakov, and the daughter of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah, then you're family and you're one of us, and you're a Yid just like me and you, no different. And this was a tremendous, tremendous revolution. All of a sudden, Yiddishkeit becomes accessible to thousands of Jews, to tens of thousands, to hundreds of thousands, to millions of Jews, in a way that it wasn't until, and it's for everybody. No judgment, no qualifications. The only qualification is that you have to be Jewish. In order to learn Torah under Rabbi Gamliel's times, you have to be a Baal Madrega. Your inside has to suit your outside, otherwise you're not welcome. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, no such thing. Anybody who wants to learn Torah, come and learn Torah. Today, the Rebbe wants us to teach Torah and to teach Chassidus and to spread Yiddishkeit and Chassidus everywhere, to everyone, in every place, and every time. No holds barred. Even Lahavdil, the Rebbe spoke, even Goyim, the Rebbe said, even non-Jews have to learn Shara Yichud Ve'emunah, which is the deepest concepts in Chassidus. Even Goyim have to learn this. Why? Because one of the Sheva mitzvahs Bnei Noach is to believe in Hashem and to believe in Achdus Hashem, the unity of Hashem, and that's explained in Chassidus. That means today the Rebbe wants us to teach it, to spread it, to share it with everyone, everywhere, at every time. We, those of us who've had the privilege to be connected to the Rebbe, to learn from his teachings, to drink from his wellsprings, are obligated to break down the doors and to make it accessible and available to everybody. And if we're not doing it, then it's on us. We have to be like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who removes the Shomer HaPesach. And then the Haggadah says something amazing. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, and I said that you also have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim at night. You also have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim at night. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. You know why? Maybe you know how it's connected? Because you have day Jews and you have night Jews. Day Jews are Jews who live in spiritual light. Night Jews are Jews who live in spiritual darkness. Along comes the same Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and the Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah of every generation and says, Mazkirin Yitzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. You have to find those Jews who are, they're nighttime Jews. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand. They haven't been exposed. They don't appreciate Yiddishkeit. They don't appreciate the depth of the beauty of a mitzvah. They don't appreciate either because they haven't been raised with it or for whatever the case may be. And they're nighttime Jews. You have to come to these Jews and say, Yetzias Mitzrayim is for you too. When the Jews left Mitzrayim, it wasn't for everybody. But nowadays it is. Maskirin Yitzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. Are you a daytime Jew or are you a nighttime Jew? Either way, you have to mention Yitzias Mitzrayim. And you have to celebrate Yitzias Mitzrayim. and you have to find a way to make it meaningful during the day and during the night. The Rebbe refused to give in, to be mavata, to let go on anything, on any one yid, on any one individual, on any one place in the world, on any, on anything. Every single Jew has to be reached, and I want to add to something else. Sometimes it's very easy to say, the Rebbe wants us to reach the Jews in the furthest places of the world. The Rebbe wants us to go to Africa and to Hawaii and to Honolulu. And the Rebbe also wants us to reach the dark part of ourselves. Even those parts of ourselves where we say, I can't, and it's too far, and it's too difficult, and it's too dark, and I can't get there. The light of Chassidus cannot penetrate this dark part of my soul. Mazkirin Yitzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. Every part of a Yid, and every part of every Yid can leave Mitzrayim. Yud Alef Nissan is 4 days before Pesach. That means the mission statement of this is to get out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu came to the Yidden and said, it's time to leave Mitzrayim. The Jews said, what? Where are we going to go? How are we going to get there? What are we going to eat on the way? We don't even have a roadmap. They went and they trusted Moshe Rabbeinu and they followed him out of Mitzrayim, and everything that was supposed to happen happened. But in this case, it's even more than that, because like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said, nowadays we have to take out the Shomer HaPesach. Every Yid who wants to come and learn Torah is welcome to learn Torah. Even a Yid who doesn't want to learn Torah, the truth is he also wants to learn Torah. He just doesn't know that he wants to learn Torah. So you tell him, you think you don't want to learn Torah? Of course you want to learn Torah, right? This is Chabad's slogan. It's called in your face, down your throat, Judaism with a smile. Because we believe that, of course, every Yid, of course, what do you mean you don't want to? Of course you want to. What do you mean you don't want to learn Chassidus? Of course you want to learn Chassidus. Maybe you realize that you want, maybe you don't realize that you want. But obviously you want. Of course you want. Now we'll just help you find and realize that you want. And then you'll see that this is really what you want. And it has to be made it has to be made available to every Yid in every scenario. There's a video on YouTube of Rahman al-Islam, of a missionary who goes by the Rebbe. It's very famous. Maybe many of you have seen it. Lo Yaleinu, a person who is J for J, and he goes by the Rebbe by dollars, if I remember correctly. He came by the Rebbe. He even wanted to hand the Rebbe Rahman al-Islam some of his material that he was distributing. What does a Rebbe, think about this for a minute. What does a Rebbe tell a Yid who Rahman al-Islam is in such a place of darkness, in such a place of he's so spiritually lost that Rahman al-Islam is involved with this kind of stuff? What do you tell such a Yid? So watch the video. The Rebbe tells him in English. They talk in English, actually. The Rebbe says to him these words. The Rebbe says to him, you are a Jew. You are a Jew. Yes, he starts telling the Rebbe about my mother, about my father, about my upbringing, but ahin, but aher, but this, but that. And the Rebbe says, but all the excuses don't excuse the fact that you are Jewish. You're a Yid. You have a neshama. You also, the Rebbe said, you also have an illness. But even your illness doesn't take away from who you are, from the truth about you. So he argues with the Rebbe. He says, no, I'm not ill. He says, I'm not ill. The Rebbe says, if you don't even realize that you're ill, that means that the illness is worse than you can imagine. And the illness is worse than I can imagine. But even that illness doesn't take away from the fact that you're a Yid. Even that doesn't detract from the fact that you are a Yid. And as soon as you'll realize who you are, the illness will disappear. As soon as you will realize your shlichus, boom, your identity crisis will be over, and you'll abandon all this garbage, and you'll be able to move on with your life as a Yid, which is the truth of who you are. He hands the Rebbe his material. The Rebbe takes it from him and says to him, I'm taking it from you so that you'll have one less. You'll have one less of these. And so that you'll infect, Rahman al-Islam, one less Jew with this illness of yours. Now think about this for a second. What's the Rebbe telling the person? That it's okay what he's doing? Rahman al-Islam. What's the Rebbe telling the person? That he's okay. The Rebbe is telling him, you're more ill than you realize. And in the Rebbe's words, the Rebbe says, you're more ill even than I realize. But even that doesn't change the fact that you're a Yid. And you're a Yid means you have a neshama. And the neshama is there. And nothing can change that. And nothing ever will. Mazkirin Yitzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. Here stands a Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, a Rebbe of the generation, and tells a Jew, no matter how bad the darkness is, no matter how thick the darkness is, you can go out of Mitzrayim. And all you have to do in order to go out of Mitzrayim is just realize that the Mitzrayim that you imagine, it's just an illness. It's just it's self-imposed. Get out of it by realizing that you're not even in it in the first place, and it's gone, and it disappears. Nothing is more powerful than the truth. The emes is the emes, and the job of a Rebbe, the job of a Nasi Hador, is to reveal the emes everywhere it goes, in everything it touches, in everything it comes in contact with. And that was given to every one of us as those who have the zchus to study his Torah, to be connected to him, to be mekushah to him in one way or another. So now that's us. Now we have to go around to the world and to ourselves and to everybody we come in contact with and tell them, listen, Yitzias Mitzrayim, to go out of Mitzrayim, is for Baleilos, is for nighttime as well. And nobody's exempt from this. You know, for the past, I got a couple of minutes left, and Rabbi Schisteman is going to Farbrengen soon. But I'll tell you this: for the past year and a bit, everybody's on Zoom, right? You're aware of this. Everybody's on Zoom. So Zoom has lots of, it has some interesting, on one hand, it's very uncomfortable because you're not physically sitting with people. But on the other hand, Zoom gives you very interesting access. They had very interesting programs from all over the world. So Lubavitch in Johannesburg did a Zoom. I hope I didn't say this last year. I hope not. Anyways, Lubavitch in South Africa did a Zoom meeting about a year ago where they spoke about the history of Chabad in South Africa. Stuff that happened long before I was even born. So the Shluchim in Johannesburg told an amazing story. They came in the 70s. They came to Johannesburg in the 70s. In the 70s, when they came, so they started to build schools and to build yeshivas and to build mikvahs and to do amazing work. And as is the custom of Chabad institutions and Chabad rabbis, pretty quickly they needed a lot of money. They needed a lot of money. And of course, they started struggling. So they went to fundraise. They went to fundraise from the community, and they're fundraising and they're working. One day, the Chabad rabbi said, one day they get called into a meeting by the Jewish Federation. The Jewish Federation sits them down and says, you Chabad guys got to get out of town. On the first train, do us a favor, they said, get out of here. Why? They said there's not enough money in the South African Jewish community for all these activities you want to do, and you're taking away money from us. And they said these words. They said, South Africa is a dying community with diminishing resources. Basically, and you guys are taxing our dying community with diminishing resources. Anyways, what did the Shluchim say? The Shluchim said, listen, Chabad guys, they can be a little bit Rosh Bakir, kind of like one-dimensional. Anyways, they said, look, the Rebbe sent us and we're staying and, till Mashiach comes and even maybe beyond. So, that's it. But afterwards, when the meeting was over, they wrote a letter to the Rebbe. And they wrote to the Rebbe that the members of Jewish Federation are telling them that South Africa is a dying community with diminishing resources. What should we respond? So the Rebbe wrote 2 letters. Number 1, the Rebbe wrote to the Shluchim. That the Rebbe said, Chas v'sholom, Rachmana litzlan. It's not a dying community. It's not diminishing resources. Nonsense, the Rebbe said. The community is thriving. The resources are thriving. There's plenty of people. There's plenty of resources. Don't worry about it. But then the Rebbe wrote another letter to the Jewish Federation themselves. To the leaders of the Federation, the Rebbe said, you told my shluchim that your community is a dying community with diminishing resources. Yes? Says the Lubavitcher Rebbe from Brooklyn, New York, to the heads of the Jewish Federation in Johannesburg, South Africa. I ask you a question, says the Rebbe. Who's responsible for that? On whose watch did the South African community become a dying community with diminishing resources? It's your responsibility. It happened on your watch. Says the Rebbe, if it happened, if Hashem put you there, that means it's your opportunity and your obligation. Go fix it. Stop kvetching, stop complaining, stop talking about how bitter and terrible the darkness is. Mazkirin Yitzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. Don't tell me that it's dark at night. Tell me you're going to get out of Mitzrayim at night. Don't tell me the community is diminishing and the resources are done. I'm not interested. First of all, it's not true. Second of all, even if it is, so what? Stop kvetching, stop complaining, stop crying, stop talking about how difficult the situation is. Get up and go do, go build, go inspire, go help, go open the doors of the yeshiva, bring in 700 benches, fill them all the benches. Don't bring in 700 benches. Don't bring in 700 empty benches. Bring in 700 benches full of Talmidim. And when those are full, bring in 700 more and more and more and more. Until there isn't a Yid in the world who doesn't feel welcome and warm in the Beis Medrash where they study, where they learn Torah, where they learn Chassidus. The Rebbe never saw himself as being the center of this all, never. Like the Moshe Rabbeinu of every generation, like the Moshe Rabbeinu himself, who said, Kvad peo, kvad loshna anoichi. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I can't speak, I can't talk. Ani al sfasayim, lo yish dvorem anoichi. And now we have Eila Dvorim Asher Divi Moshe. The whole Torah is Moshe Rabbeinu's word. The one man who couldn't talk, the one Jew in all of Jewish history who had nothing to say, the one Jew in all of Jewish history who couldn't talk, and the one Jew in Jewish history who said, I don't feel comfortable to talk. His words are studied more than anybody in all of human history. Why? Because it wasn't about him. He said, I'm a shliach of the Eibashter. If Hashem sent me, then everything we touch will be successful and will be eternal. Today, my dear friends, is Yud Alef Nissan. It's a day of incredible power. The Rebbe empowers every single one of us, touches our neshama, obligates us, empowers us to go and to do. Unfortunately, the work is far from done. Very far from done. Unfortunately, there's still so much more to do. The Rebbe wanted us to be finished long ago. And probably if we would have done what we were supposed to, we would have been finished long ago. But for whatever reason, Hashem put us here. Hashem didn't put us here to kvetch and to complain. Somebody once said, don't tell God, stop telling God how big your problems are. Start telling your problems how big God is. We have to stop telling the Rebbe how big the challenges are. We have to start telling the challenges how big the Rebbe is. And if the Rebbe can persevere and do everything that it is that he did through his people, then surely he continues to do so even now. And Hashem should bless every one of us. We should utilize the day. We should utilize the time. We should utilize the opportunities. The opportunities are all around us, everywhere. To talk to people about the Rebbe's Avas Yisrael. What it means to love another Yid, to care for another Yid, without judgment, to tear down the walls that separate between Yidden. All this kind of stuff. I'll finish with a good word that I heard recently. They said there was one of the older Hasidim in 1991 or 1992. He was learning with a bunch of Bachrim from one of the Litvish yeshivas, one of the non-Chabad yeshivas. And they came to he was learning Tanya with him. Listen to this. They came to him and they said, "We heard Chabad went crazy." He said, "Oh, you heard Chabad went crazy a long time ago?" He said, No. We heard recently Chabad went crazy. What happened? We heard they started saying that the Rebbe is Mashiach. Is it true? Is this true? Do you believe this? Listen to what he said. He said like this. You ask me who Mashiach is going to be? I don't know. Hashem gets to decide who Mashiach is. He says, but I will tell you that I hope Mashiach himself has Avas Yisrael like the Lubavitcher Rebbe. If Mashiach will have that kind of Avas Yisrael, he'll be Gor Hashem Mashiach. It'll be a very nice Mashiach. The Rebbe taught the world what it means to have Avas Yisrael, to love and care for another Yid, to go out, to reach out, to inspire, to elevate, to not complain, to not sit there and kvetch and say, oh, but I can't, but I don't know, but I take the step that is in front of you. Be bold and be strong. Remember, the Rebbe told us that the last generation of Golus, which is the first generation of Geula, faces the strongest darkness, just like the Yidden faced before they left Mitzrayim. And from there comes the Oir HaGeula. Hashem should help us. We should merit this Pesach to be back in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael, together with Mashiach, together with all the Yidden from all of Jewish history, together with our Rebbe. We should celebrate. We should have the Korban Pesach this year in Yerushalayim. By the way, this year the Rebbe's capital is much shorter than last year. Last year was Kuf Yotes. Took a long time to say every day. This for the next 15 years, even more. For the next 15 years, at least the next 15 years, the Kapitlach, relatively speaking, much, much shorter than Kuf Yotes. Say the Rebbe's capital every day. Stay connected. Everyone, you know what? The Rebbe would always say, I'm a little bit over my time. But I started 2 minutes late, so I just want to add this. The Rebbe always taught us that something practical has to come from a Farbrengen. From every Farbrengen has to come something practical. Everybody should take a small, practical hachlota, a small, practical decision, something tangible, even if it's just to learn, a minute or two of the Rebbe's Torah, something every day, but to constantly connect, to stay connected, to stay plugged in. And the Rebbe will, please God, bless us on this holy and special day, this holy and special time, with all the brachas that we need for all of Klal Yisrael. Hatzlacha, gesund, parnos, and nachas. For Klal Yisrael, all Yidden should be gesund. Be it with Mashiach Tzidkeinu, l'chaim.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Kesselman, for your inspiring words as always. I just want to remind everybody that the Mitzvah Shem, the next Zoom class will be after Pesach. Probably not the Monday night right after Pesach, probably the Wednesday after Pesach. I want to remind everybody to sell your chametz. Don't forget to sell your chametz. Don't forget, Thursday morning this year is the Siyum. If you're firstborn, you have to go to shul and listen to a Siyum. And all the other things are mentioned in all the Shiyum, all the various din, all the various laws. I want to wish everybody a kosher and Pesach. And we should merit, as Rabbi Kesselman said, to be in Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach, with the Korban Pesach, and end of this Mishigasim of what's going on in the world today.
Amen.
Good evening, everybody. Good night, everybody. And don't forget, at night you mentioned you see it's Mitzrayim. Go out of it tonight.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Good
night. Chag Sameach.